Okay, so for problem solving, my advice is to read the question carefully and then try to pick out key details so that you can form pretty much like so you can set up a system of equations from it. In this case, rectangle questions are actually a bit easier because a lot of times they involve perimeter. So when I read this question here, the perimeter of a rectangle is 70 meters. Right there, as soon as I read that sentence, I stop and I say, okay, they're telling me the perimeter of a rectangle is 70 meters. I don't know the length, and I don't know the length, I mean the width, but I know the perimeter is 70 meters. And I know that a perimeter of a rectangle is, I would say, length. Okay, yeah, so let's do this. Let's label, I'm going to set L to equal my length, and I'm going to set W to equal my width. Now, for the first question, the perimeter of a rectangle is 70 meters. I know that a perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width, and it equals 70 meters, which is my perimeter, because perimeter is just the length plus the length plus the width, because it's just the pretty much the distance of the entire outside. So in this case, I got 2 length plus 2 width equals to 70 meters. So that's my first equation. The second equation is harder to, I guess, procure. So for my second sentence, I'll read 5 times the width is 7 more than the length. And then the next sentence will be find the dimensions. So there's 3 sentences. From the first sentence, I can come up with the equation 2L plus 2 width, or 2L plus 2W equals to 70. But from the second sentence, I have to develop a equation as well. In this case, 5 times the width is 7 more than twice the length. You may have to think about that for a bit, but what you end up getting, if you think about it for a little more, is 5 times the width. Okay, so 5 width, or 5W, and that equals to 7 more than twice the length. Okay, twice the length, so 2L, and then 7 more, so plus 7. So I have 5W equals to 2L plus 7. And these would be my 2 equations. So equation 1 and equation 2. Okay, so once I found these equations, there's a couple ways I can do this. Either I isolate for L, put everything into my calculator in terms of L, like L equals, and then graph it, or I isolate for W, put everything in my calculator in terms of W and isolate and solve for that. Or I use substitution or elimination to algebraically solve. In this case, I'm just going to use, I'd say, substitution, for example, for this one. So what I notice is that I'm going to do something a bit different here. Normally I sub in L equals or W equals. Today I'm going to sub in something different. I'm going to sub in 2L equals because I see that I have 2L for the top and the bottom. So what I'll do is I'm going to start with equation 1. So equation 1, I have 2L plus 2W equals to 70. I'm going to isolate for 2L. So to do that, I will subtract 2W from both sides. And once I do that, I should get 2L equals to minus 2W plus 70. Okay, now that's my equation 1 that I just manipulate for. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take 1 and I'm going to plug it into 2. So for equation 2, I have 5W equals to 2L plus 7. Okay, so I'm going to write that out some more. So 5w equals 2. Now 2l, right? So 2l, we have it equal to, from equation 1, negative 2w plus 70. So I just put that in. And now I have plus 7. Now from here, I'm going to simplify and I'm going to start by getting rid of my brackets. So since there is no coefficient or negative coefficient in front of my bracket, like the only coefficient is 1, I can just remove my brackets and say 5w equals 2 minus 2w plus 70 plus 7. Here I can add my like terms, so I have 5w equals to negative 2w, and 70 plus 7 is 77, so I got plus 77. And now I would add my negative 2w over to my left-hand side, so I have w all on one side. So I would go plus 2w and plus 2w. Now I have 7w equals to 77. Now from here, I would try to isolate for y. So to do that, I would have to get rid of my 7. So I would divide all of my terms by 7. And once I do that, 7 divided by 7 is 1. So I should have w on one side, and w equals to 77 over 7. And if you put that into your calculator or do some mental math, you'd find that the answer to that is 11. Okay, so I just found w. So now that's my width. Let's find my length. My length, I can take my width and put it back into equation 1 or 2 to find my length. So in this case, let's put it back into equation. We'll put it back into equation 1. The one that I manipulated for already. So I guess, yeah, let's put it back into the one I manipulated for. So I'll put it back into the 2L equals to negative 2W plus 70. And the reason I put it back into this one that I manipulated for instead is because L is already on one side. So I think if I put in W, it should be easier to solve for L. So I would have 2L equals to negative 2. Now I'll add in my W. Plus, I should have put my value of W in there. So my W value is 11, so I added my W and plus 70. So now let's simplify. So I would have 2L equals to negative 2 times 11. And in this case, negative 2 times 11 would be negative 22, and then plus 70. So now I have 2L equals to negative 22 plus 70. So let's simplify for the like terms. So I got 2L equals to, now what's negative 22 plus 70? Think about it for a bit. But the answer should be 48. So now I have 2L equals to 48. So to isolate for L by itself, I would divide everything by 2, or every term by 2. So I divide 2L by 2 and 48 by 2. And if I do that, I should be getting L equals to 48 divided by 2, which in this case would be 24. So my length is 24 meters and my width is 11 meters. So I guess I can write it out again. So length equals to 24 meters and width equals to 11 meters. And if I want to verify if that's correct, I can just take my length and width, plug it back into equation 1 and 2, and if they happen to pretty much equal, then these are the correct dimensions that I found.